Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Startup Business Festival Symposium. This is day 1, 23rd of September 2024. Today's event is powered by YSN, the Youth Social Entrepreneurship Network. I am your host today. My name is Sibulele Dolo. I'm the brand architect and storyteller at the RCID Group. So who do we have today? Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce our esteemed speaker for the day. Please join me in welcoming Albi Mavibeka.
Thanks for having me around.
It's a pleasure to have you here, Albi. So tell us more about yourself. Hello and welcome everyone to day 2 of the Startup Business Symposium. A resilient startup ecosystem. Today's day 2. It is the 24th of September 2022. Today's event is powered by Resilience Labs. I'm your host today, Sibulele Dolo. I'm the brand architect and storyteller from the ICRD Group. Please help me welcome today's speakers. So we are joined by 2 exceptional speakers for today's event. In the headline, Building Resilient and Cultural and Creative Entrepreneurs. Today's theme is about equipping our creative and cultural entrepreneurs with tools to not only survive but thrive in an ever-changing landscape. We're honored to have 2 exceptional speakers who are trailblazers in their fields, demonstrating both resilience and innovation. Our first speaker, Jabulani Mabuza, is the founder of Honor Watches, a proudly South African brand that has been producing Afrocentric handmade timepieces for the past 3 years. Our second speaker, Lisa Becker, is a passionate advocate for sustainability and community-driven solutions. Lisa's journey has taken her across the globe, from the tin can crafts of Madagascar to the pollution-charged cities of China, where she became an environmental advocate. Lisa, you can go ahead and introduce yourself to our audience.
Hi, yes, I'm based in Johannesburg, and I've been a part of huge sustainability development since 2019. And I used to live in America, but then I came back to South Africa to be a part of the innovation and creativity of our nation.
Thank you so much for your intro, Lisa. Let me start with you. How did your global travels shape your views on sustainability and entrepreneurship?
Well, I think, raised in Johannesburg, we always knew that there were a lot of issues that we were dealing with. And I think we try and deal with them in the most practical way as possible. And then you go to places like Europe and America and you see the level of innovation around, sustainability, recycled, upscaling and all of that. And then particularly in Switzerland, I remember I was about 19 years old and standing in the kitchen and I saw four dustbins. I thought, what on earth are they on about? And the funny thing is they even would crush their cans down into little discs and things. So I thought it was just a lot of innovation around just versus just throwing your rubbish out. Like, what can I reuse easier for everybody around me? So I think everybody taking responsibility for their part in making a difference, but then also being able to create jobs or creative news of exploration.
Right, I've got a question for you, Jabulani, since you are back. How did your cultural heritage inspire you to start and found Honor Watches?
I think the best way to describe this is that culture has social and economic importance. And when you're involved in crafts, especially making timepieces or any other art, you need to create something that will reflect a certain way of thinking or living from certain demographics. So as the slogan for my business goes, define yourself. One of the core values of Honor Watches is self-determination, which directly links to being able to self-define in a society or in a certain sector in demographics.
Now I'm going to go into the nitty-gritties. We know that you started your brand in the township, which is a very tough market to start in. It's very tough to get people to trust a Black business, to trust in the idea. So how has entrepreneurship in the township economy shaped your business approach?
Well, at first, I think the education component is much needed in townships. And it also depends on the kind of business you run. Are people familiar with it or are they not? And if they are less familiar with the business, you can hardly find support or understanding or being embraced into the community. So the biggest challenge was to try to grow beyond my community and try to find people who understand what I'm actually doing. But then I later realized it's twice as hard to reintroduce yourself in higher markets when you don't have background of support, especially from your community. So that's when I reshaped my brand positioning, my brand identity. I try to make every watch, I try to incorporate the very identity of our community, for people in my community to find themselves in my brand. It's no longer just a watch brand, but it's something that tells our story in the community. And I think that was the right way to tackle it, to make sure that people, Ekas, in the township, see themselves in my brand. Sorry.
Hey, what's popping, everybody? I'd like to welcome all of you to the Startup Business Festival Symposium. I am back. Woo! All right, now we kickstarted this beautiful symposium on the 23rd of September, looking into day one. Of course, we had an amazing curator and an anchor for that beautiful conversation. Sibela Tolo, I salute you, brother man. Impeccable work, obviously looking into shifting and focusing on the narrative that lie within the ecosystem. What can we do to impact the ecosystem, bringing on thought and practice leaders within this space to have meaningful conversation. Of course, yesterday was day two, focusing on the creative sector. And of course, we had an amazing panel to talk about the creative sector and the creative space, looking into how creativity can be immersed in driving the ecosystem. And of course, today is day three, and yours truly, Karabo, Mohole is in the building, and I'll be having an amazing conversation, of course, focusing on the power of the environmental sector. This is powered by Invelisi. Now, of course, this symposium is a prelude focusing on the Startup Business Festival, which will be happening from the 1st of November all the way to the 30th of November. Now, this obviously is just a 4 days commencement, but obviously this will be much more in depth when we look into the beautiful festival that we have, an annual festival, which will be our 4th year, literally having this beautiful festival this year. And of course, the power of this festival is making entrepreneurship fashionable and attainable. You guys are probably wondering, how do we do that? It's by bringing on amazing key players within the ecosystem to literally speak and to shift the narrative within the particular spaces. And of course, the festival is about making that entrepreneurship fashionable and attainable, curating an entrepreneurial spirit, of course, looking at the key players that we have within the ecosystem. And of course, today I'm joined by an amazing speaker, Tembekazi Daki. But before we get into her, let's take a look at the house rules. All right, so please do keep your mics muted. Please keep your microphone muted unless you're asked to speak by the speaker. And of course, please, if you have any questions, please do utilize the chat box, and also kindly respect all the speakers on this particular platform. And please don't forget to hashtag all roads lead to the festival, hashtag SBF 2024, and hashtag Startup Fest. And of course, this is looking into building a resilient startup ecosystem. And of course, I'm joined by an amazing speaker. And of course, as I said, my name is Startup Mohole. I'm the Chief Storyteller for the ICRD Group and the Chief Operations Officer. All right, so please do follow us on social media. You can find us on Instagram. We're Invelisi.Africa. You can also find us on Facebook. We are at Invelisi.Africa. You can also find us on LinkedIn. We are at the Startup Business Campus. And you can also find us on X. That is Invelisi.Africa. All right, as I've stated so many times, we're joined by Tembekazi Daki. She is a partner and CEO of High Towers Petroleum Africa. And of course, Tembekazi is an incredible entrepreneur, incredible woman who does impeccable things within her space. And of course, as I said, her bio is literally tremendous. So I'll have her introduce herself. Now, today's topic is looking into how SDGs are driving environmental sustainability and economic growth. And of course, before we get into this particular topic, of course, I've done my own due diligence, right? Looking at the word sustainability, right? We oftentimes toss it around, but we haven't really grasped or understand what sustainability really talks about. Now, oftentimes when we are in the ecosystem or in business, whatever it is that we do, right, as an organization, we understand that every decision that we make does not have to compromise those that are coming after us. So sustainability looks into looking into what we need to do as an organization, but keeping in mind that there's a next generation that also needs to focus on their particular goals. So it's not compromising what the next generation has to do. And of course, on the platform, we've got Tembekazi Daki. Tembekazi, how are you doing?
I'm well, and how are you? Hi, everybody.
Good, thank you. Thank you so much. First and foremost, thank you so much for joining us. This is obviously a symposium, but the most important thing for us is going into the festival that we have every November. This will be our 4th year having the festival. And of course, we bring on key players in that beautiful festival from the 1st of November all the way to the 30th of November, a 30-day business festival, which has never been done before. So we are the first to probably do that. But Tembekazi, you are now stepping into this beautiful ecosystem or partnering with us to have engaging conversations. What does it mean to you, first and foremost, when you hear about a 30 days business festival?
Well, thank you so much, Karabo, for that, and congratulations. I think that's a very big and magnificent milestone for you and your organization, and I'm very delighted to be part of it, and to many more. I think, for me, what that means, having such a big festival over such a period of time, is, reach. It's important that we get to the masses. There's a lot of entrepreneurs that need the information that will be shared. There's a lot of people who may find that, there's a lot to learn, and maybe they're doing something right. They just don't know how to use the right platforms and use frameworks to enhance whatever they already have. It's also a time for networking to see who's who on their specific fields, who's around them. Sometimes it's far-fetched. Sometimes it feels like, oh my word, you'll never meet the Tembagazi just to have a conversation, and you'll be surprised. So I think it's going to be an eye-opening festival. It's going to be a time for entrepreneurs to come up and just put on their thinking caps and also listen, and obviously have questions that will help them walk away with knowledge on how to better their businesses.
Beautiful. And of course, the topic or the theme for, symposium is looking into how do we build this, or how do we build a resilient startup ecosystem. And of course, that's what we also take within the festival, where we can have powerful conversations that can look into opportunities that lie within that particular sector that we focus on each week. And of course, we primarily look into startups, right? Businesses that have just began their entrepreneurial venture. For them to understand and to listen to those that have walked that particular journey, how it is to actually get there, what it is that you have to do. Because oftentimes, we don't do our own due diligence to suss out the market, to suss out our own particular sector, and understanding, what this particular environment is all about. So these conversations are really important for businesses to really engage in. And thank you so much to people like yourselves for really taking the time to be on this particular platform, to share your own expertise and knowledge. And of course, in the future, to share resources. Yay! All right, cool. Tembagazi. So you are an impeccable individual, right? You are an entrepreneur in your own respective right. Beautiful. But before we get there, let's understand who is Tembagazi and how did that journey begin to unfold for you to find yourself as an entrepreneur, as a powerhouse, as a female within this particular space.
Thank you so much for that. Firstly, I'm sorry I will not be showing myself, but do take pleasure in my picture because I'm a bit preoccupied at the moment. But again, what a time to be alive.
That I can show people. Let me also put a nice
okay. But what a time to be alive. Again, thank you so much for having me. And what a beautiful question. I think, who is Tembagazi, right? Tembagazi is just a normal person who's always looking for opportunities, someone who's always looking for, the next best thing that will obviously impact the economy and social development. And for me, I've jumped from being a civil engineer to owning an events management company that worked very exclusively with the Department of Transport for a few years, doing a lot of aviation career expos. And then moved from that, went straight into investments, where I was a partner and was, privileged to obviously also be a shareholder of an investment company. And one of our assets was obviously having a partnership, an international partnership with Steve Harvey. So those are some of the big highlights, and having to work with a lot of international entities that were looking to expand on the African continent through this investment company. And then to obviously partnering with the only Black man who's killing it in America when it comes to petroleum and energy, Mr. Hightower himself. And as I stand, we are in partnership with him, myself and two other very phenomenal ladies that are doctors in the field. And basically, I am currently sitting there as well as the partner and as a shareholder, as well as CEO of Hightowers Petroleum Africa, so the African arm. And, of course, philanthropy, I'll never leave it behind, because I think for me, I must always say that I'm very God-driven, because how else would I have done it? I think for me, most of these things you will hear, I didn't really have a plan. I was in the right place at the right time, and things happened. And of course, when the opportunity was given to me, I didn't play around with it. I managed to obviously always show my capabilities, and the hard work and the smart work is what got me to where I am. So it's a play of a lot of things, but philanthropy being at the gist of it all, to give back, to be able to come on such platforms, to obviously share back the knowledge and the wisdom that you gain along the way as you try to make it. So in a nutshell, I think that's just me. Thank you.
Wow, what a nutshell. First and foremost, congratulations on
Thank
your
you.
it's important for us to celebrate those that are doing it, right? And oftentimes you hear people be nice, like, no, I'm trying. Now you're doing it. But also,
Yes.
a lot of people like to throw in philanthropy. I've seen it even on Instagram. When they have their
Yes.
bios, entrepreneur, mother, this, and then
That's
philanthropy. So
right.
I'm also gonna throw it in. I think I need to
Okay.
start working on my profile and just throwing philanthropy. But
Please. Yeah.
Temagazi, before we get into the importance of our particular conversations today, one thing that I love doing is understanding someone's particular journey, and of course your journey, as you've mentioned, is purpose driven, right? And you and I can take time to talk
Absolutely.
about God, which is beautiful. But you spoke about, I think in the beginning, you focused on being a civil engineer, and then somehow you found yourself doing something else.
Yes.
I want to find out, right? Because oftentimes a lot of entrepreneurs have this beautiful thing that is inside of them, which is having resilience, right? Having tenacity, having grit,
Yes.
and also learning how to pivot. Sometimes people see it as a failure, but a lot of people see it as you still finding yourself. But how did you just begin to connect the dots? I know you give glory where glory is supposed to be, but also how did you as an individual
Absolutely.
understand that there were certain things that you had to do and not give up, even though you had to take a different course?
Absolutely. I think at the end of the day, for me, you must understand, I didn't really choose the path I'm on, and I guess it comes with the whole journey aspect of it.
Yeah.
From high school, I was into civil engineering, and so that's how I was exposed to it. And of course, my family thought I'd be an engineer. I thought I'd be an engineer. I went on to first year as an engineer, and then of course I had teenage pregnancy, so I didn't even finish that completely. I had my beautiful son, and then I had to obviously jump back and try finishing it up. But I think at that time, that's when I had to be real with myself to understand that I really was into entrepreneurship, as opposed to you know being stuck in an overall doing quantity surveying, or being stuck with drawings and doing floor plans for the rest of my life. So at the end of the day, sometimes life does throw curveballs. So at the end of the day, it's about how you take those and direct it for the best. And of course, sometimes the environment doesn't allow, or you not being able to have all the answers doesn't allow for you to do that. So that's where the resilience comes in, to take time to be kind to yourself, and just understand that you can't have shortcuts on the journey. You have to let it play out the way it should.
Yeah.
So that's what I think young people miss. Of course, we all want to be successful, and our journeys are not going to be the same. But at the end of the day, it's just a matter of how each of our different stories pan out. But you have to have the resilience to make it pan out, and stay true to yourself and the course.
Yeah, yeah. I remember back when I was in high school, because I grew up just always answering. My name is Karabo, but I always would just answer back, especially when my mom would probably say something. I'd have the urge to say no, but this. So my mom told me that I'll be a lawyer, right? Which was not true, because I'm not. But for a couple of years, I believed in that. But I'm
Yeah,
glad I got to find myself, and I got to find passion fuels everything. Purpose is intertwined with passion. Whatever it is that you are meant to do, right? That God has,
yes.
there's always passion with that particular thing. So here we are, Timigazi, you and I are talking, but now we're going to be focusing on looking at the particular topic that we have for today's symposium. As I said, today's day 3. We're focusing on the environmental sector, looking into how SDGs are driving environmental sustainability and economic growth. Now, to begin us, question number 1. Bam! I'm kidding. What does environmental or the environmental sector mean to you? I know a lot of people, when we talk about the environmental sector, it's not really in depth. They oftentimes will just say, no, it's the green sector. You can look into waste, you can look into, but for you, how would you differentiate, or how would you, talk about the environmental sector?
Well, the environmental sector for me, I think, it comprises of everything, but it basically just speaks to our habitat and what is around us, because at the end of the day, we're humans, but where do we belong? We need a lot of things like, clean water to survive, affordable, clean energy, climate action, a lot of things, that the SDGs speak about. And at the end of the day, it's important for us to understand this, because otherwise, what's the point? So for me, environmental affairs, or the economy and sustainability thereof, is very important, because for us to make it, we really need to take care of the environment that we are in. Hence your global warming and all of that. If you're into agriculture, it affects you, because how are you going to grow the crops if, you have to play your part? Even in construction, you need to understand the weather. How's that going to affect site delays, everything? I mean, logistics, everything is really impacted by it. So it's interrelated, and people need to understand always how it's important to understand current affairs around that, because especially if you're in business, it can either make or break you, and the point is making money and changing lives. So that could be a whole delay. So that's what it is for me.
Yeah. I think one of the nuggets from that, primarily, you said it beautifully. It's just looking at what is around us. There's so much that can happen. That's if we also analyze, right?
Yes.
Our own environment. And of course, to guys, I just want to share this. We have an amazing program called Teampreneurs. This particular program focuses on, young men and young women in underprivileged background. So we had a particular program in Limpopo where we focused on, agri-tech. And of course, these young entrepreneurs, or these young student kids began to look at the environment. Now, when we talk about Venda, you can actually understand the richness and the depth of, the wealth. The wealth is literally in the soil. So looking into how businesses can actually, grow by actually analyzing the environment. So a lot of people can understand that so much can come out of a lot of assessment that we can do by looking at, what is not working around us, and also maybe finding a solution. So a lot of businesses are solution-minded around that particular aspect. Now, Tumagazi, how do you see SDGs directly impacting the balance between the environmental sustainability and economic growth, particularly for startups in developing countries?
I love that question. I think, SDG goals are very important. And when we harness straight into environmental and economic sustainability in developing or developing countries, I think it's all the same, because they provide a comprehensive framework that guides countries and organizations, and individuals towards a balanced approach in terms of development, so everyone is accountable to everyone, and everyone can oversee what's happening, and there's that form of transparency, and I think that that's very important, because at the end of the day, everyone needs to be accountable, especially because we are all interrelated once again.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, cool. I'm not sure if I lost you there, but I think when we talk about accountability, and obviously looking at what the SDG goals have or are supposed to do for, obviously, the environment, right, or the nations. How important is it for entrepreneurs to actually focus on the SDGs that are set for us?
Okay, I don't know. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you. I'm not sure if I lost you.
Okay, perfect. No, no, no. I can hear you perfectly loud and clear. So thank you for your question. I'm so sorry. I don't know what's happening, but I think I heard your question, and I think in terms of entrepreneurs being able to align in terms of what the SDGs are all about, and specifically in the environment context. Look, firstly, to be an entrepreneur, you need to have a lot of information. There's no, okay, I'm risking it without understanding what's happening, and the primary focus in terms of the environmental sustainability for the SDGs is to obviously recognize that they are protecting the environment, in its essential well-being for the current generations and many others, and in terms of environmental sustainability, and when you talk about SDG goals, you're talking about SDG 6, which speaks on clean water and sanitation, right, which promotes sustainable management of those resources. And then you've got SDG 7, which speaks to affordable and clean energy, right, which encourages the transition of renewable energy and resources and all of that. There's SDG 13, which is climate action. There's SDG 14. But primarily coming back as an entrepreneur and understanding what this means for me, it means entrepreneurs need to understand and equip themselves with all the information so that they can understand what exactly are the needs on the ground in ensuring that these SDGs are met. And what better way than to equip themselves with the knowledge of how these SDGs work and the different SDGs within the different sectors. So for me, it is all about equipping yourself with a lot of information and knowledge so that you have an informed offering as a business.
Yeah, I think I like the narrative of entrepreneurs equipping themselves, but now, guys, when we look into you know a particular key player, right? We can look at one that is ecosystem driven and one that is ecosystem driven. So the ecosystem one that is driven, it's more of a collaboration effect, but an ecosystem is one that wants to do it on their own. But now, if we're talking about equipping entrepreneurs with knowledge, I know that knowledge lives on the internet, and obviously there's universities. But also, how important is it for established businesses or thought and practice leaders to have platforms to share, to inform, to hold their hands? There's a saying that this is not a hand out but a hand up. How important would that also be, for building that resilient startup?
Beautiful question. I love that. I think, in a nutshell, you're basically talking about collaborations, right? And, strategic partnerships in businesses. And those are very beneficial because they provide access to new markets. Do you understand? Shared resources, reduced costs, and knowledge exchange, which again, it will always come back to that. So, in what I've said, I mean, new markets, sometimes you think, yes, this is it. But when you actually network and you with different people, you'll understand that there's more to it, right? Shared resources. Sometimes, when you come into collaborations and if you go into partnerships, strategic partnerships, you'll understand that it's a shared kind of way of doing things. And it's not just financially, but, in terms of resources and knowledge base and so many other things.
Yeah,
Because people always think money only. And,
exactly.
money is very important, but there's also other elements that will help you last longer in the game or the sector you may be in.
Yeah,
So it's very important that you always ensure that, again, it will provide shared resources, new access to markets that are new to you, and the partnership with other businesses or organizations can lead into you making sure that that business becomes innovative, and increase credibility and other opportunities to scale your business,
yeah,
and obviously navigate through challenges that you may be encountering at the present moment or in the future, because sometimes knowledge is just making sure you don't repeat mistakes. So it helps a lot, and it enhances overall resilience and growth potential for
yeah.
entrepreneurship.
Yeah, so much which you have unpacked, which is beautiful. And of course, when we look at the dynamics, right, of um, a collaborative effect or collaboration or partnerships. Obviously, you just mentioned, resource, sharing or knowledge exchange. But primarily, a lot of people, when we talk about, resource sharing, as you said, it's about money or funding, but there must be also looking into an infrastructure, a platform that, you also have. I want to ask you this question, Tembakazi. What are you doing, right? Or what is your organization doing in creating this platform, right, of knowledge sharing? What are you doing to help entrepreneurs who are starting in their journey just to understand, first and foremost, what it is to be an entrepreneur, or to understand the essence of sustainability, or also to empower themselves in their own personal journey?
Okay, I mean, businesses
Yeah,
have to have, social corporate responsibilities, you know, uh, but also a business is not just a machine. It's got people, and again, accountability. And for us, it's important to give back, So that's why we're able to come on, myself, jump onto such a call to make sure that we know we have the reach and be able to reach out to people who are trying to get into not necessarily just our space of energy, but whatever business that they may be. And myself particularly, I've served and I continue to be part of other organizations that do just that.
beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. Now, Tamakazi, what specific SDGs are most crucial for fostering sustainable entrepreneurship? And why are they so relevant to the entrepreneurial space today? Okay, cool. Tamagazi, I'm not sure. I can't hear you. I see that you are muted. We're having a problem. All right, cool. So while we wait on Tamagazi, I'll just wait for you so I can hear you. I am Karabo. We are still part of the symposium. This is the Startup Business Festival Symposium. This is just a prelude to the Startup Business Festival, which we have from the 1st of November all the way to the 30th of November. And of course, I'm joined by Tamagazi Taki, an incredible entrepreneur. We're having a conversation looking into how SDGs are driving sustainable economic growth. Tamagazi, are you back? All right, cool. So I think I'll have a conversation by myself. Samson, what do we? Tamagazi, Samson, is there a way that we can help Tamagazi with this particular problem? Or if possible, Sammy, you can just curate for us a video, a highlight of the festival, or a video just for yesterday's highlight while we sort out the technical issue that Tamagazi is facing. Tamagazi, I saw your video was on, but I'm not sure if I can't hear you still. Okay, cool. So while we wait on Tamagazi, let's take a look at the highlight reel of yesterday's symposium. So I hope something I can just curate that for us as we work on the technical difficulties that are happening on Tamagazi's side. But this is a beautiful conversation. Please don't go anywhere. Just wait for us as we work on this particular issue. No, I still can't hear you. You can't hear me. Sammy, can you help us? What's happening? Am I audible? Is it my side or is it Tembagazi's side?
No, I can hear. I think, Tamagas, I think you could just come out, make sure your audio and mic is connected.
Okay, cool. It's on her side. Sammy, if possible, you could just play a video that could help us maybe in the meantime as we wait for Tembagazi.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Startup Business Festival Symposium. This is day 1, 23rd of September 2024. Today's event is powered by YSN, the Youth Social Entrepreneurship Network. I am your host today. My name is Sibulele Dolo. I'm the brand architect and storyteller at the RCID Group. So who do we have today? Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to introduce our esteemed speaker for the day. Please join me in welcoming Albima Vivek.
Thanks for having me around.
It's a pleasure to have you here, Albi. So tell us more about yourself.
So I'm a graphic designer by profession. And I think my journey started in 2020 when I started thinking of creating my own brand. So one of the things that I did, I used my creativity and my education, my innovative ideas to try and teach the young people about African identity. So I started Hello, Welcome to Africa because I wanted to introduce people to our African culture and for us to learn about our heritage, our history, our languages, our music, our food, everything that identifies us with our culture and our heritage. And so I created one book, second book, third book. I now have 6 books that I've wrote and illustrated, and I've self-published the books. And obviously I do not work by myself. I work with a couple of people.
All right, cool. So Tembagazi, I see that you're back. Just want to make sure that your audio it's active. Tembagazi, can you hear me? All right, so unfortunately, I still can't hear Tembagazi. This sounds bad. It sounds like I'm reporting the news. So unfortunately, you are nothing at all. And this was such an amazing opportunity and an engagement, but unfortunately, Tembagazi can't hear you at all. Nothing. You can't hear me. No, I can't hear you. Man, this is okay. Cool. So Samson. So the problem must be on her because you can hear me and I can hear you, but she can't hear me. No, I can't hear you. No, you know. There's nothing we can do. Okay, Sammy. So, Sammy, I think we can just probably just close this session. Okay, cool. So yeah, so these things happen, unfortunately, as we are utilizing connectivity issues. It's not really easy to talk virtually. So oftentimes these things happen. So we do apologize to everybody that's tuning in for this for the circumstance that has happened right now. Of course, I wanted to have a conversation with Tembagazi, which is going to be amazing and fruitful. Hopefully we can curate this for another time. But something I think at this particular moment we can just close the session and reconvene at a particular time or tomorrow as we focus on day 4 if we're not able to resolve this particular issue. Unfortunately, wholeheartedly, I'm disappointed. I couldn't have this conversation with Makazi. I am Karabo Mohole, the Chief Operations Officer and the storyteller for the Startup Business Campus, the SRD Group. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. Unfortunately, we couldn't continue with this beautiful conversation that we had for Tembakazi Taki. But Tembakazi, thank you so much for gracing us with your presence. Hopefully, we can curate this opportunity again sometime.